Hello, musical nerds. So today I'm just posting a video about using the Keytracking option of the Ableton Live Expression Control MIDI tool so as to change tonalities in a finger drumming context. So the idea is to make something like this. Let's try it. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I thought about this concept while working about playing some jungle things in a live context. And I was thinking about, yes, it could be nice to change tonalities without using too many pads. And the Keytracking was the way to do it. So if you want to go further, please check the great channels of Ned Rush, of Nicola Thayer, of Simplisynth. I'll put the link in the description, who develop many widely creative concepts and experiments of any kind, things related to bass music, or just experimenting, finding new sounds, new way of playing in Ableton Live. Just wanted to share a few things with you. So, as you may have noticed, I'm working with the push 2, and it's just there at the bottom right of your screen. I apologize for the low quality of a video. I'm using, in fact, an old Xbox Kinect camera, which has a very low resolution. So I noticed that we can't really see the colors of the pad and so on. But I think that's not so important. The main thing will be inside the drum rack, and I'll try to share with you the things I'm doing with it to make these tonal changes. So let's talk about the concept. The concept, as I've said before, is about changing chords and tonalities while finger drumming, and make the bass follow these changes according to the selected chords. So for that, I'm using a MIDI tool that is called Expression Control, that you have over there. So here the main concept, you can figure it out watching Ned Rush videos, and I put a link in the description. In the drum rack you have like many pads, 127 I think, in which you can put some instruments. So it can be samples or it can be instruments. Here for the pad I'm using a VST of mine, but it can be anything. To play this kind of jungle finger drumming things, we can use simplers in one-shot style. So that means that when I'm pushing a pad, I hope I'm on the right one. I'll check it right now. So when I'm pushing the pad, possibilities of this instrument, which make it run according to the tempo. Okay, so here we are using several loops, several drum breaks, and we can play with them. Then we can add like a bass sound. So I'm using the same jungle old style, original style, let's say, jungle style. So I'm using a sample of a bass, 808 style. So at the bass, one pad will make one note, and I will duplicate it on another pad with a MIDI tool called random. So let's make a fresh MIDI track and see what we can do with this. So I will insert a drum rack. Okay. So here we have MIDI tools. The thing is that they don't produce sound at all, but there are ways to handle digital information and to act on the parameters of the sounds. So if you look at the routing inside your rack, it's a kind of multi-channel area. So each pad is in fact a distinct channel, and it will be created when you will add an instrument on it. And you can see that each pad has a note, and that's the received played note, and the effectively played note will be a C3. If I take a MIDI effect rack, insert it and create a channel, well, maybe it's a bit advanced, but you'll see what I mean. When I'm pushing this note, which is an F, I will get a C3 out of it, okay? And when I'm using a random, which is another MIDI tool, I can make this note change according to a chance or percentage. So I can make it change all the time if I make it 100%, or half of the time, for example, if I put it to 50%. So, and then you can choose the range of the note that will come out of it. So I duplicate this MIDI rack so you can see what I mean, and I can make this note whether being always higher, whether lower with this option, sub, sorry, and when I'm clicking on bidirectional, in fact, notes can be on a upper or a lower register according to the choices which are here. So 12 notes is the equivalent of an octave. Now when I click, I push, this pad, you see here in red that I will get different notes, okay? And thanks to another MIDI tool, I can make it fit in a scale. So let's use a simple scale, such as the minor pentatonic one, so which has five different notes. And now, each time I'm pushing this pad, I will get one of these selected notes corresponding to a selected scale. So here we are in C, minor pentatonic, okay? So if I would have liked to use a D, now this note will be in D minor pentatonic, okay? That's the basis. So let's go back to this first, to the instrument I'm building, and I've used a third one just to have an octave, upper octave, okay? So here I'm using another MIDI tool, which is called pitch. And so I've deactivated the random, so now I'm playing this pad and getting a C3, okay? And if I want to change this note, let's say 7 semitones higher, we'll get a G here, okay? So if I want an octave, I will put it at 12 semitones, and I will get a C4 as a result, okay? Here we are, we have some drums. Now we can go further and try to put some chords, because it's quite nice to play a kind of multi-instrumental thing in a finger drumming context, so that you can interact with each instrument and make your improvisation as a living piece of music. So in the same way, I'm using an instrument. So here a pad. So pad are long sounds with a slow attack, and that can bring a flavor to your musical piece. So I created a pad I'll show you just after. Let's do it. I'll just copy the instrument so as to save some time. So I can copy it. I'm selecting the desired pad, okay, and pasting in it. So we'll get rid of this thing and I'll explain you after. Oh, this is not so important. These are basic mixing and tools to make the sound a bit livelier, okay? And just a control of the global volume according to the volume of my drums, okay? This is a basic instrument I have among my plugins. You can use any sound you want. So the thing is that I've put in an instrument, okay, pushing a note, and I will have a really short sound. It will last if I let my finger on the pad. Okay? But that might cause problem when I'm finger drumming, because my fingers will be locked to these pads and I won't be able to have enough fingers to make this music move and be lively. Okay, so here again we are using some MIDI tools to help us being able to play some music live in a finger drumming context. Sorry. So the first MIDI tool I will use is a note length. So note length allows you to influence or to parameter the behavior of the trigger notes you launched through this pad. So you can choose the duration of your notes, whether it will be synchronized here. So from a quarter note to a 64th, which can be quite short. So I try it again in that way. My note will last one quarter note, okay? But for pads, I would like longer sounds, and I have a possibility to give it a length expressed in milliseconds from really short notes to longer ones. So here it's at 2 seconds and 34 milliseconds. Okay, so when I push it once, so launching just a trigger, my note will last 2 seconds and 34 milliseconds. Okay, so I've pushed it until 60 seconds, so 1 minute. So that means that when I will push this pad, the note will last for a whole minute without stopping. Okay, so this can be quite long, but so you can do as you like. I've chosen to do this, and I'll explain you how to handle this after. Okay, but for this kind of sounds, I found it interesting to have really long notes. And then I'm using another MIDI tool, that is called a chord. So what's the point about this one is to transform a note to enter a single note. Sorry, I use as I did before a MIDI effect track so that you can figure it out. So I'm creating a channel. So here when I'm clicking on key, I can see that sorry, I'll switch that off after. So my single note is a C flute, as we've seen before. So it's on this pad, which gets the information C2. So each pad is a different note, and this one is C2, and the output is a C3. So you can change it with your mouse by clicking, holding, and moving up or down, so as to get another note if you need to. Okay. And if I'm duplicating this after my chord tool, so the chord tool will transform this single note into a chord. 5 notes right now, according to the selected semitones right here in this MIDI tool. So by itself it doesn't create sound, but it allows you to alter or the digital information to get the result you'd like to. So I've used a minor ninth chord, okay, minor 7 ninth chord, which is a classical jungle style thing. You can do whatever you like, but that's the sound I was looking for. So which has a minor third, so 3 semitones above the root. We have a perfect fifth, 7 semitones up from the root. A minor 7, which is minor 7th, sorry, which is 10 semitone above the root, and then a 9, which will bring even more color, which is 14 semitones above the root. So in fact it's the equivalent, if we are in C, of a D, but an octave above. Okay, so now I'm pushing the single note and I will get this chord, okay, out of it. So back to the instrument I'm building. So why not having several chords after all? I noticed that I wrote 11th, but it's a 9. Anyway, so there's one thing I missed to tell you about these breaks and the way it works, and it's related to this routing thing. So let's get back to the rhythm part, rhythm instruments, breaks, to the breaks. Okay, sorry. So when we are on the drum rack, you see that when I'm clicking on this button on the left of the drum rack of the instrument, okay, I can see the routing of each channel. Okay, so if I'm back to my breakbeats, I can see the incoming note, the outgoing note, and then and I can see this thanks to this button here, in and out, which lets you see these options. And there's another option called choke. So here we can choose among 16 different channels, which are MIDI channels as well. Okay, and so by default you see that this choke option will be selected on none, and I'm using this option. So for each of my drums cells, different drum cells, okay, so there are some over here, okay, and this option will allow this option will allow you to cut or to take over the sound that is actually running. So if I'm pushing the first pad, my loop is running, okay? And with this choke option, when I will push another sound of the same category, so in this case another break, it will cut the running one, and this will allow you to play rhythmically different kinds of instruments. So I've selected a part with a snare for some of the pads or some kicks, different breaks to get different sounds, which is jungle and breakcore inspired. And the thing is that I can play a sort of some kinds of drum patterns thanks to this choke option. So you've noticed that my push has a small problem with it with this pad, which sometimes launches the one just next to it. But well, I'll see if I can do something. But if I'm pushing it on the left, I don't have this problem. I just forgot it right now. Okay, so with a snare, it makes so that's the point. So I'm using the same technique for my pads. So back to the pads, and I've choked them so that with different chords. So I'll show you, and I've choked them so that when I'm pushing a different chord, it will take over the sound that is actually running. So that's why I've chosen to make them last really long. So I can bring a tonal context and change it after. Okay, so just to make it again. First part, second part, fourth pad. Okay. Well, let's do it again. So as to get these different chords, I will copy and paste my first pad, which make a C minor 9th, minor 7 with a 9th chord. So I've pasted it, and I'm using the pitch MIDI tool. And if I want a D chord, so moving the chord 2 semitones above, I will just raise my note by 2 semitones. Okay, so you can see. Let's get the chord at this point. Just okay. First pad is a C. Second pad is a G. If I can see, yes, right here. So here is my D, and I'm using the exact same chord That's mainly about this jungle style, because originally jungle style music creators used to use samplers, so they took audio samples of chords and transposed them to make their chord progressions. So I've used the same technique, even if I'm not using a sample, but which you could do if you would have liked to. Okay, and you can change the chords, the alterations, and so on. Okay, then so let's bring two more chords. Okay, so let's say that for this third pad we would like to get an F. Notice that I can use a MIDI monitor so as to, which is an other MIDI tool. Right here, MIDI monitor, I've used the MIDI effect track so that you can see a piano roll and see the played notes. But this MIDI monitor does the same. It does the same. Sorry. I was thinking about this because I was thinking about the piano roll, but anyway. These MIDI effects rack are really useful, whatever. Here I'm playing. Okay. Let's say here that I want to play a G, which is 7 semitones above my C3, which is the incoming note. Okay, so here I've got 4 different chords, and as we've said, before, it can be interesting to get some really long notes. So I've put them at their maximum length. So I'm pushing it. It stops for 1 minute. And here, disaster. The 2 chords are playing at the same time, so that's not what we want. Here is the reason why we're using this choke option. So I've grouped them. And from now on, when I will play my chords, it will cut the one that is playing at the moment. So okay. Second chord. Great. But the point is that if I want to cut it, I will have to find a solution, because my sound will run for 1 minute, and that can be annoying sometimes. But you can choose a shorter length if you prefer or if you want to. But there are other kind of routing tricks that can be used. So what did I do? I've used a trick. So I've color coded my pads, but you can't see it on the video. I'm sorry about this. But I've used another pad and tried to use some other kind of MIDI tricks and routing tricks. So what I've created is in fact off button. So how can we make this? I've used another pad for this that I've called mute pads, and there's no instrument at all on this pad, only MIDI tools. So the first one is a note length, and here we are not using the length concept or on some other way. It's more the option in Live 12, which is called latch, and it allows you to have a kind of on-off switch. When I'm pushing it, I'm sending an information, and another one when I push it again. It will tell to stop, in fact, when I'm pushing it again. Okay, and the main thing is this expression control tool, so which has several options. So you can have 5 channel, 5 information, which can act on any parameters. It's a huge tool, and to make an on-off switch, I've used the following trick. So I'm thinking that I should have told you about another thing I did. Crap. Exactly. So let's go back. So we've said that we have four different chords. Okay. The thing is that we can group these different instruments by selecting 4 of them and selecting grouping. Okay. So from now on, in my routing, I've created a group that handles my 4 different chords. Okay, and I can name it pads. So the thing is that now I can, from now on, I can, well, let's say that I can alter anything on these 4 different pads at the same time, and that's quite interesting. So we were talking about this sound that lasts forever, well, for 1 minute. Maybe has this tutorial. Sorry about it. That's my first one. I think I will. Well, we'll see what I will do with the editing after. But what we can do to cut this sound, because it's running forever, is that we can lower the volume. Can be a solution. That's the one I've used. There are many others. Click again, I will get my sound again. Okay? So, back to the trick that I've called mute pads. So the thing is that I'm using the expression control. It can do many things to do and to learn about this. I'm still learning about it. And I'm using the increment option, which means that each time it is triggered, it will send an information a step further, and we can decide how many steps will be included. So I try to make it short, and I've used just 2 steps. And the goal is to switch the volume of this group. Okay, so just to show you it in practice, I have my pad, long-lasting pads, which don't make sound. Why is it? Because I've muted them. So I've got my pads, but it lasts forever, and I've created this button, pushing it, and it will decrease the volume, and I can have my sound back if it's still running, because it will last 1 minute by pushing again this pad. Okay, so here I'm using this pad, which is a G4, and with this combination I'm using the increment option, making it unipolar, which means that, well, it will trigger information that will go just in one direction, and I want to assign it to the gain, to the volume of my utility that I've just placed on my pad. And the thing is that I want to decrease this volume. So by default, if I bring a utility which is a basic tool dealing with a pan, muting, white feather sound, well, and the global volume. Okay, so by default it's at 50%, which means, and I've said 2 steps because I just want on off. So at the initial state it will be 0, and if I push it once it will just change the behavior once according to these parameters. So I can map this parameter, click on the gain. So by default it's at 0 decibel. If I'm clicking on my mute pad, it will raise the volume by 50%, which can be extremely dangerous because it means plus 35 decibels, which is huge. So be careful. You have to put it at minus 50%, which is a percentage of the whole volume range that can be handled by this instrument. So which now means that when I'm clicking on this, whether I'm at let's say 0 decibel volume, which is not changing anything from what you have decided for your instruments, and when I'm clicking, it will decrease it until minus infinity, which is completely cutting the sound. Okay, so I will now erase this. And so if I'm back on my instrument. So you have the parameters here. I've assigned this on my pad group. Sorry. So which is at the end of my 4 instruments, which are now grouped. Okay, so they are now in this kind of in this sort of box. In this box, okay, we have 4 channels corresponding to each pad. Okay, so I've put a utility after this and assigned it onto them. So let's do it quickly here. So I have my pad group. I name it again. Okay, pad. I'm going on my G4 tool so as to be quicker. I will copy it. Okay. So I'm on my G4 pad, pasting them. And so now I can map this tool. Be careful about the -50%, and we'll assign it to my gain. Sorry. So now I've got a new pad here. And I can cut the sound and get it back if I click again. But maybe not the ultimate option, but that's one I found. Just another detail. You can see here at the bottom left of the expression control tool that there are rise and fall parameters that allow you to influence on the duration of the action you wanted to implement. So if I'm putting it at 0 millisecond, it cuts the sound directly. So if I'm using the rise option, putting it at about half a second, so 500 milliseconds, then it will last a little before it will make. So then it will make the sound decrease progressively, which can be more natural and more interesting. So here we are, but what about this? What about this tonalities option? The thing is that I now have 4 different chords. Let's just add this upper octave bass. On the third pad. So I want it 12 semitones up. Okay, so I've put my random off. So now I have notes changing. You can have a lower range if you want to. And here I will only have my upper octave. Right, but so you've noticed that that's great, but If I'm changing my chords, the bass will still play the same, and it can be annoying because we will have clashes, not notes that will clash or sound sometimes unpleasant, and that's not what we want. Well, I think sometimes yes, maybe. Um, so, what can we do about this? We can use this expression control tool and use another option which is called Keytracking. So here is the trick. So as we said just a few minutes ago, we've grouped our pads, and maybe can we use some MIDI tools to alter the bass notes. So there's an option called Keytracking is in this expression control tool. So the thing is that it will imply different action according to the current note we are using. And the thing is that we've seen that each pad corresponds to a different note as an input. Okay? So maybe can we use these notes information and use them to change parameters on our basses. Why not? So how do we do that? We will still use some MIDI tools, and here's the trick. So I'm back on the first bass pad, okay, which is my root note. Okay. So we will use this Keytracking option to change our note according to the chord that is playing. So how do we do that? We'll use this MIDI effect rack. Let's do it again. So I'm going on my first pad. I'm creating a MIDI effect rack by dragging it on it. We'll create a channel. And the idea is that we'll use the pitch and scale tools, okay? So the first one, I won't change anything, but just putting our minor pentatonic scale. You can use whatever you want. That's just a thing. And in this MIDI rack, we can create several channels as well. So I can duplicate it. on this second channel, we will make the tonality parameters according to our second chord. So what did we do? We are in D, and it's a minor ninth chord as well, so we will raise the pitch by 2 semitones. So the bass will be the root note will be a D, and as it's a minor 7 chord with ninth, we can use our D minor pentatonic scale. So we've duplicated this, we are raising the pitch by 2 semitones, and in our scale tool we'll use the D minor pentatonic scale. But the thing is that, so when I'm using the first channel, I'm getting a D. When I'm using the second channel, I'm getting a first channel a C, second channel a D. But if I'm letting them together, we'll have conflicts, so we'll solve this issue. Let's first duplicate this 2 times so as to get our root notes according to the chord we designed. So you remember, first chord is a C, second chord is a D, third chord is an F, and fourth chord is a G. So F we raise by 5 semitones, and G by 7 semitones as well. By 7 semitones. Okay. So now the thing is that we can filter these channels out, and we'll do this thanks to our Keytracking option. So first let me show you that we can move each of these channels, and they will be active only if they are selected, like if well, we can use this chain option that will allow you to get to filter out your notes and your MIDI options and make them active only if they are selected, in fact. Thanks to this option, and that we can, which is a selector, so thanks to this selector, and that we can affect to a macro. So the thing is that when I'm moving this change selector, I can select the selected channel from 0 to 1 and 27. Okay, so I can make it active all the time by enlarging this selector. And here we are making them active only on one number. Here it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So, back to our pad group. So, we are using our expression control tool before our group. So it means that it will get information, and for each of these 4 pads. You see that when I'm clicking on the four different pads, the expression control reacts for each of them because it's before the group we created. Okay, and we'll use this Keytracking option because I use the MIDI monitor. So we are switching from a pad to another, and we are getting this information here. So the thing is that first let's parameter this. But the thing is that we'll use this entry note information, and which will be a tonality selector in fact. So let's use the remote option so that it's on the whole range, and we'll use an output range from 0 to 100%. So in fact from 0 to 127 in MIDI. Okay, and I'd use the linear option so as to get the most accurate information as possible. And I'll map this to my selector right here. So now I'll just leave this tracking, this option, which allows me to see what's happening on the pad I'm clicking on, so that you can see that when I'm switching a note, so a chord type, I'm getting different information. And the thing is that we have to put our selectors in front of this. So I'm clicking on the first pad, and I will put it just under the first channel, so our C root, and I will put the selector right here. And now selecting the second chord. So the selector moved from one step. You can see here the number of the MIDI information, let's say. So I'm moving my selector right next to it. Third pad. Fourth pad. Okay. So let's try it now. Oh, it doesn't work. Crap. You know why? Well, I I've tamed this, but it's no surprise. But just to see that with these tricks, we have to think and find solutions to get the desired result. And the thing is that it seems to work. But when I'm pushing notes on my pad so as to play my bass notes, the key tracker also gets the information and switches off my channel selector, so that's not what we are looking for. So we'll have to filter out the range of notes that will trigger this key tracker. So here we can use our MIDI effect track, putting it before our expression control. So once more, let's create a channel. And here, so we say that our pad begin at note C2 and until D sharp 2. Okay, so I'll just narrow the range from C2 by dragging this chain selector, but that concerns the keys. So we've seen a selector that concerns the chains when we have multiple channels inside a MIDI effect track, and we can filter it out with the keys until D sharp 2 here. So let's try it again. I'm going back on my bass root. Selecting the third pad will make it lower the volume. First pad. First note. The selector doesn't move. Second pad. We're getting our G. Third pad. We're getting our F. Fourth pad, we're getting our G. Yeah! So we can call this tool note selector, tonality selector, or whatever. Let's apply this technique for our other bass pads. Well, I will drag them because for MIDI tools sometimes when I copy paste it doesn't work as I want, so I just click on it. Okay, oh, please don't crack. Come on! I guess there are two of them now. But just I'm selecting it and drag it on each bass pad, okay? So holding control and dragging this MIDI tool on the next bass pad. And we'll do the same with our third note. Control, click and drag. Yeah. the pitch is before, whatever, you can put it after if you want. No problem. The second one, what's the problem? Yeah, no, where is it? Yes, right here. So I just check everything is all right. Okay, so concerning the second pad, second bass pad, I think I've let some mess from earlier, which is useless. So this was to understand our note routing. I can suppress it. Oh, I just deactivated. Okay. I don't need this scale anymore. And here there's something special that we have to handle. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so concerning this second pad, we want to incorporate our randomization tool into our channels, different channels, so as to get these changes of notes as well. So let's do this. I'm just erasing the MIDI tools I've used earlier. Back to our bass note that is now changing according to our chords. Okay, so we want to apply the same concept. So we'll go back on our group, and as I've said earlier, you can have in one expression control up to 5 different information. So let's use them as well as key trackers and use the exact same parameters. So we said that we want it in the remote style from 0 to 100% in a linear way. Okay, and I will map them as well on our selector. So now when I'm choosing a chord, it will follow our tonality to go. Let's do it for the third one. Use a key tracker in remote mode from 0 to 100% in a linear way, and we'll map this on our third bass pad, on the change selector of our third bass pad. And as we've seen before, it will change our note. So let's go back to the middle pad, in which we want some note changes. We just have to put our random on each channel among our MIDI trick, well, in each channel. So after the pitch, so that it will change. You can do whatever you want, but I've decided to place it after the pitch and before the scale, so that the note changes will always be filtered out and will correspond to the desired tonality. So you can choose the range you want and the direction, up, above, or both, as it corresponds to your taste, so that it corresponds to your taste. Sorry. So let's bring a random on each channel. I make it 100% and bidirectional. Make as you like for channel, for VF. Fourth channel. Bidirectional. There are many other things to do. You can check the channel that I mentioned. These are wonderful guys and creators that push the limits of our creativity and the tools we can do with this. So let's go and check them. So now it works. Great. So I think that's it for today. There would be many other tricks. I've kept it really simple in this rack. I've just used on the same concept. Let's say that I added chords which can have different let's say that I'm using chords and I can switch them to get different kind of sounds, and I can use according to the tonality. There are infinite possibilities I've just created quickly. The instrument is not over yet, but I just wanted to share this with you, this trick. And we can also make it for melodies. So here, each time I click, I will get a different pattern. Not that's something I'm trying, but with the same principle, the motif will change according to the selected tonality. Can be useful. So here I've used, if you want to do it, okay? Voilà. Here, it's not over yet, but that's an idea. Using the same key tracking effects, and another MIDI tool, which is the note echo, and I'm getting this effect that can be pleasant, and I can put it in the delay after. So let's switch it off, okay, but I can explain about it. I don't want the video to be too long, but the thing is that I can hold the motif, change it, cut it and get single notes according to the chord on the same principle. So, and I can make a motif run. And I can delay the MIDI information to get this sort of flourishing effect. And sending it into a delay, for example. Just something I'm trying out. It's not over yet, but okay. So see you next time, and let's keep making music and spreading the vibe. Yeah. Okay. See you next time. For the previous explanations. Whoa, crap. So my camera is falling down.